Welcome to the 2024 General Election Meet the Candidate Forum. My name is Lindsay Allen, and I am joined by Naomi Bouts. We will be your moderators for the 2024 Meet the Candidate series. This year's forum is sponsored by the Hagedon Media Group, Quicksilver Studios, and the Joint Public Policy Committee of the Coeur d'Alene Regional, Hayden, Post Falls, and Rathdrum Chambers of Commerce, in partnership with the Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls Press. This forum is intended to allow you, the voter, to hear from the candidates representing various Idaho State legislative and Kootenai County positions, who will share their vision and policies to help inform your vote. Candidates will be given 1 minute to introduce themselves, then asked 3 questions with 2 minutes to respond to each question. Candidates will be allowed 1 minute for their closing statements. These forums provide a unique opportunity to connect with the candidate who seek to serve our community. By meeting our candidates one-on-one in a more casual environment, we aim to better inform Kootenai County voters about each candidate's point of view. Okay, now up we have Carl Bjerke. He is a Senate candidate for District 5. Carl, you will have 1 minute to do an introduction for the audience.
Okay, well, I'm Carl Bjerke. I'm the Senate incumbent Senate candidate, and I'm running for re-election for my next term, hopefully. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon, close to evening. My District 5 is wholly within Kootenai County, and I represent constituents from the Kootenai-Benoit border all the way up into Prairie and Post Falls, west of the lake, and basically to the Washington border. And as an incumbent, I have a bit of a track record in votes that I've taken, but for people that don't know me, I would encourage you to go to my website. That's Carl Bjerke 4, the number 4, Senate.com, where you could find out a little bit more about my background and what I stand for. But basically, I've got a management, leadership, kind of political background. I'm the retired deputy chief in the City of Santa Monica Fire Department. And, I'm on the Health and Welfare Committee in the Senate now, and I'm the vice chair for the Senate Finance Committee. And I'm looking forward to hopefully having another session, another term.
Welcome. Okay, we're going to get into questions. You'll have 2 minutes to answer each of these questions. Question 1, as incumbent, what do you see as the top issues facing your district, and how do you plan to address them if elected?
Well, there's a bunch of issues that kind of are encapsulated in what taxes, whether it's lack of housing, whether it's some of the things like child care. The more we can take away the burden of the taxes, the more we can address those things. So being on the Senate Finance Committee, we're responsible for the budgets, obviously. So, the state brings in, I think our budget was about $13.9 billion last time, and about 5.8 of that is actual state money. So we have other sources for that money. So it's real critical. I mean, we're not the federal government. We can't print money. We can't just make it out of whole cloth. We actually have to have a budget that is balanced. So with saying that, there is a pie that has to be divided up. And when you're talking about dealing with the issues, whether it is the budget's a huge issue in the state right now, whether it's spending for education or whether it's Medicaid spending. Anything that gets a lot of money disproportionately to some of the other things that we want to fund, there's a finite pie. So that is a huge critical issue for the state, is to try to address those budgetary issues, especially when it comes to the 2 biggest outlays, which is education and health and welfare, mostly Medicaid. Can you repeat any more of that question? Just want to make sure that I covered it.
Yes. What do you see as the top issues facing your district, and how do you plan to address them?
Well, health and welfare, I'm going to be working very much this year on some of the Medicaid funding so we can try to address where some of those pieces of the pie can go, whether it's child care, whether it's some of the Medicaid spending that we have to look at. Believe it or not, when you're on the Senate Finance Committee, everything seems to be budget related, and I think everybody is looking to have something funded, and our job is to make sure that we do it appropriately.
Okay, thank you. Question 2. Legislators often receive input from advocacy groups and organizations as well as their constituents. How will you balance these perspectives when supporting or opposing legislation? And what steps will you take to ensure transparency for your constituents?
Well, it is a goal of mine. It's a difficult task because we're a part-time citizen legislature. We're really only down there for 3 months. We'll start January 6th this time. I'm there a little bit because I'm on the Revenue Committee, and you are hit all the time by advocacies, this, that. Everybody wants to influence what you do. I say the biggest influence for me is what my concern is my constituents, and again, that's the most difficult thing to come to. Talking about the budget again, everybody has a certain feeling about what they want funded. Everybody's got their sacred cow. I think it was Rand Paul that relayed a story about talking about welfare, and when you ask the question to a survey group, how many of you want to eliminate welfare programs? 67% of those folks say yes. But when asked that same question, when you divided up that pie and you broke out those components of welfare, they all receive 67 or so percent favorable. It's really difficult. My constituents are my number one concern, and staying in touch with my constituents is my number one concern. When you're down there, it's you look for different ways. You find groups that are lobbying for a particular cause that end up aligning with what you feel your constituents' concerns are, and then you've got to kind of meld that in with what you kind of promised people when you were deciding to do this to begin with. So you're trying to get all those things together, and I think if you go into it with the idea that you want to do the most for the most, and you're actually there to serve, I think you can't go wrong.
Thank you. Final question. If Proposition 1 passes, will you support it or will you vote to repeal it?
That's somewhat of an interesting question in the sense it's certainly not hypothetical, so we'll be voting on that pretty quick here. But my support for House Bill 179 in 2023 I would be kind of a hypocrite at that point if I decided not to do everything in my power to make sure that we don't end up with something called ranked choice voting. The legislature in 2023 resoundingly defeated anything like that moving forward. It ended up being a little bit of a party line vote, but it was 56-12-2 on the House, and it was 28-7 on the Senate side. Now that the GOP has come out against Prop 1 and as well the governor, it would be really difficult. I think the issue comes into effect where, if you look at our representative government being that we represent the people and that we have basically our marching orders from the people, and we go down there and like we talked in the previous question about supporting our constituent base, and we do what they want us to do. This initiative process, it's a process we have, but oftentimes you'll find that the folks that are backing the initiative, I won't get into great detail, aren't necessarily the grassroots Idahoans. So there ends up being a misrepresentation when you talk about is somebody really for or against something. Very often some of these initiatives or the way they're worded or just the lack of education to the voters make it difficult for the average kind of voter who doesn't really delve into politics to kind of really figure out what's going on. So they're highly influenced by media, whatever. Our job is to actually try to represent our constituents, and they've already told us back in 2023 that they don't want anything that will resemble ranked choice voting.
Okay, thank you. So we will have a minute now for your closing statement. So whatever you want to say to the audience to close everything out.
Well, one, I appreciate the opportunity to come here. It's always good to talk to your constituents and to have them see you on the hot seat and see how you how you do with these questions. I often ask myself sometimes why I would continue to put myself in this position, but I do it because it is a service, and that is it. It's not for me. I certainly wouldn't be doing it if it were. I feel fairly proud of my record since I've been in office. I've only been the first term, the 2 years, and I managed to, even being on health and welfare and being the vice chair of the Senate Finance Committee, managed to get 10 bills across that I either sponsored or co-sponsored. And those bills have to do with fighting for the freedoms of Idahoans and protecting the rights. And I look forward to parlaying that for another session, hopefully, and I will continue serving as long as the folks want to keep voting me back in. So, again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And now up, we have Senate District 5 candidate Adam Chapman. Adam, you will have 1 minute to give the audience an introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Adam Chapman. I've been a Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene's been my home for my entire life. I would say I've been a resident my entire life as well, but I've been traveling back and forth between different places. And I think that gave me a unique perspective to try and tackle the issues that we face as a community. I should say real quick that my platform is the 3 E's: the economy, education, and the environment, or preservation, in that order. In terms of the economy, I think so many people understand that we're struggling in terms of, how much money we have in our pockets right now, not being able to really buy groceries, or I should say, not even being able to have socioeconomic mobility. So for that, that's my big kind of pitch to the people.
Excellent. For question 1, you'll have 2 minutes to answer these. What are the top issues facing your district, and how do you plan to address them if elected?
Well, the district has a very diverse community with all manner of different people coming from the, economic stratification. We have so many different people in different areas of the economic community, so to speak, But I have to say, it goes right back to my platform. The economy is number one, and I plan to tackle that by being a very strong union advocate. I know that's not a popular opinion out here in this area, but I think we really could use someone who's really fighting for the labor class, so that people, I hate to say, in the lower classes, get paid what I would view what they deserve to be paid, which would be more than a living wage, which is a term that's in the political diaspora, I want to say. I don't know which is the right word here, but it's in the zeitgeist. They want a wage where they can move up in life, where they can thrive. And I think families around here and workers in this area would really need that and like that and want that in their lives. So that's the major issue that I think faces our community.
Legislators often receive input from advocacy groups and organizations and your constituents. How will you balance these perspectives when supporting or opposing legislation? And what steps will you take to ensure transparency to your constituents?
Absolutely. Oh, I love this question so much. I have to tell you right now, I have accepted zero money on my campaign for the reason that I want to be authentic when I get to Boise, if I do get there. In terms of the balance, I have to admit to you, it's going to be heavily favoring persons who are laborers, blue-collar workers. Even, I used to work at Walmart, and way in the back room hauling freight. And the conditions there, they were good, but those people deserve more, I believe. So for that reason, the balance, you say, although I will hear, of course, what economic leaders in the community want and what their desires are, I will be heavily favoring the lower classes, middle classes, even high middle class too. That is going to be the balance.
Question number 3. If Proposition 1 passes, will you support it or will you vote to repeal it?
I will support Proposition 1 so that we do have open primaries in Idaho, as I believe it's a more democratic process that way. And for that reason, candidates will have to, be a little more, giving to the people, as opposed to what the situation is now, where they can just kind of hold on to their base and, just give with those people what they want. So support, absolutely.
Last section here is our closing statement. You have 1 minute to make a closing statement to the audience.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for having me. Members of the community, I tell you right now, we need help in these critical areas: the economy, education, the environment. We all like to use the lake. I love to swim in the lake. I think we want a clean lake, a healthy lake, so that we can do all of our hunting and fishing and swimming. Additionally, our education system, being a product of that system, I feel that we could do some work. We don't necessarily have to pump a lot of money in there. We can do some curriculum changes with what I term as an amateur as cognitive loading. In my own experience, I study languages as a hobby. I can tell you right now that more repetition and a little more handwriting in schools, and I'll go into more specifics later, would definitely help our community in those aspects. And again, the economy, we just need families to have more money. We need more money. We need to get paid more money. The people need more money. Money's not all that it is, it's not happiness, but it can sure go a long way. Thank you.
On behalf of the Joint Public Policy Committees representing the Coeur d'Alene Regional, Hayden, and Post Falls and Rafton Chambers of Commerce, in partnership with the Hagenon Media Group and Coeur d'Alene Post Falls Press, Lindsay and I thank all candidates for participating. I would also like to thank the production team members at the Quicksilver Studios, the Hagenon Media Group, and the Coeur d'Alene Press. And of course, thank you to those who have taken the time to learn more about each of the candidates featured in this year's Meet the Candidate series. This series has made it possible to hear from 23 Kootenai County local race candidates. We sincerely thank candidates who took the time to discuss what is important to voters in Kootenai County. We hope this town hall forum has helped inform those still uncertain about whom they will cast a final ballot for in the coming weeks. Please remember to vote. It's one of the most significant rights and responsibilities as Americans. The fundamental message this year is cast informed votes. Thank you.